AI agents are clearly taking over when it comes to streamlining processes and automating repetitive tasks across every industry. You can generate a PDF, you can even book a flight, but here's the truth. There are very few real business workflows that actually use AI agents to generate leads. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact system we use internally to automatically scrape and monitor job postings every single day, signals that show a company that is actively hiring, and then run them through a team of AI agents to score, qualify, enrich using a waterfall process. From there, we generate copy, drop them into campaigns, and then launch the outreach. All 100% automated. Let's dive in. All right, so diving right in here. Now, what you have here is n8n, which is a platform that I talk about on a very regular basis, but it comes down to two things. We have triggers and then actions along the sequence here, right? So starting off with our trigger, we have two triggers right here, but this one is going to be the go-to, which is going to be a scheduled trigger. So for this one, we have it fire off every single day at 9 a.m. You can obviously adjust it to your liking on how you want to have this triggered. But from there, it's going to kick over, wire up to an edit node, which this one just allows me to very easily set the job title and the number for which that I want to enrich versus going into another node and potentially breaking something, which I'll go over here in a second. But this very simply just means that I can set the standard for a position title, which is sales development representative. And then for this test case, we're going to do 5. You can set it up to like 100, 1,000, however you want to do it. But I would definitely start small to make sure that your workflow is running just fine and peachy, right? Then from here, there is a platform called Appify, and I talk about this quite often as well. Appify is a great platform which triggers automations and actors to be able to automatically scrape. And what we do here is we can just select an actor, and if you go to their Appify store, they're going to have a lot of different actors that you can shop around, and you could be Google Maps, Indeed, a number of them. So choose your actor as appropriate. For this use case, we are going to scrape Indeed. And so what this is going to do is if you just so much as go to API and then endpoints, you're going to see a number of different endpoints here, and then check the API reference if you're wanting to really get technical. But if you continue to watch this video, we're going to be just fine here, right? So the first trigger that we want to do is we actually want to run the actor. So you'll see here, we're just going to call the run, which is a post request, and we're actually going to just fire this off. If you copy inside Appify, you're going to have your API key attached to the URL. So you just post that in there, and then we're going to send the body. Now you can see in the body here, we have the JSON, which is required inside there. But you can see we're going to do country is United States. So if you're outside the United States, obviously change that. And then we have passing through here the expression, which is the number in the previous node. And then we have the position, which is for sales development representative or anything like that. Now, if you're like a headhunter or a recruiter, obviously you can get really crazy here. If you're doing like, full stack engineers or any position really on Indeed, this could be really a powerhouse for you as in terms of business development. But for this purpose of sales, clearly if they're looking for sales, we want to reach out to them or go to market engineers to say like, hey, I know you're hiring for this. You're probably in a growth state or you're needing more sales. Like we can help you uplift that, right? It's a reason to reach out. This is a very old signal, but you should definitely consider at least having this going too, right? So from here, we're going to fire this off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do what you call polling. So what we do is we poll this particular actor. And what it's going to do is going to fire away and it's going to start to scrape. It's going to take some time. So what we're doing is we're going to wait 5 seconds. And then the way it works is it's going to kick this off and then it's going to run and then it's going to loop. When we do here, when we click into it, you're going to see that the status is going to say, I think, pending or in progress. And then basically it's going to continue to go until it actually says succeeded. And then from here, so if this says if the data status is equal to succeeded, then we are going to move forward, right? But if it's not, if this logic is false, it's going to loop through and we're going to be able to keep polling it until it is done every 5 seconds, right? So that is the key there. And then from there, once it is done, we're going to get the results, which you can see here is we have 6 jobs. So that's cool. Being able to pull different sales positions for that particular job criteria. And then from here, we're just going to pull the results. So this was a very small sample, but you could see the scalability with this particular one. And then from here, we don't want to have duplicate jobs. So this is necessary in a way where we can kind of suppress our list. That way, if we run a previous, let's say we run this today and then we run the same thing tomorrow, there very well could be the same jobs that are posted because not every job closes in a day or whatever. So in this case, it would retrieve the results, and then therefore, if new jobs were not on the list, it's just going to remove the duplicate items from there, right? Then from there, as you know, there's a lot of recruiting agencies. I used to be one. I'm still kind of, sort of. But we know that job boards always have recruiting agencies all over the place. So really, we're always trying to get to the main person, right? We want the hiring manager in this case. So with this particular agent, we are going to filter off with recruiting agency filter. And from here, we are going to say, basically, this is the system prompt of saying you are an AI website classifier, right? So we're going to say recruiting agency job board filter. Return true if the site is either a recruiting agency or staffing company or a multi-company job board like Indeed or anything like that. Visit and read only public content, and then we're basically giving it step-by-step instructions, and then the output is basically true or false, right? So we've identified the role, which I talk about, RTO, identified the role. We have the task, which is step-by-step, and then we have the output, right, RTO. So that's the biggest thing, and then we're saying right here in the user message, visit the website to determine if it's a recruiting agency or a job board, and then visit that, right? So what we're doing is we are actually giving the agent, we give it a brain. So in this case, we're going to use 4.1 mini. And then from here, we are giving it a tool, which is actually to scrape a website. In this case, we're giving it Piloter. You can use Firecrawl. You can use any, really, Zenrose. There's a lot of different web scrapers out there, but you can really have the agent just access the website to actually scrape it and then be able to download and understand context around if it is actually a job board or not, to or a recruiting agency, that true or false, right? And then from here, we're going to filter out, making sure it is equal if it's not a recruiting agency, because if it is, it's not going to move forward. Then from here, we are doing a hiring manager finder agent, right? Sounds fancy. So from here, we are going to say, you are a hiring manager finder. That's your name. An AI system that recommends most likely hiring authority, the person one level up who can greenlight or strongly influence the hire or for a given Indeed job posting. And then from here, you'll actually see the inputs, what you must do, again, the task and the parameters around the task. And then we control the output. Output return JSON only, which is this particular target title. So in this case, I wanted to really get the top 3 of the next tier up, because it really just does depend on what industry, the size of the company. It could be, it could be a manager. We really want to go up in such a way that is most appropriate. Now think about it like this. If you're reaching out to like a large company and the next one up is, I don't know, the CEO, well, sometimes that's not going to be the best case, because the CEO is always going to be to the top. And so that's why I put reasoning here. Accountant is an entry to mid-level finance role, company size, and this is just an example, is unknown. So VP, director, CFO of finance are likely to be the hiring authorities. Position is remote, so global finance leaders are acceptable. This is just really an example here. And then from here, we are just basically giving it more context to control the narrative and control the output, to basically say whatever is the next authority here, the next tier up, based on the size of the company that you think is going to be the appropriate job title. And that's the key here, is you definitely want to refine this on here to make sure this agent is thinking, well, if I saw this job title, who is the next person that I want to reach out to, right? So for an SDR position, it could be a sales director, could be the CRO. There's a lot of different titles around that, but ideally that's what you want to go for. And then for this particular one, Lead Magic actually has a really good endpoint for this, for being able to pair up the title and then find a LinkedIn profile to be able to attach that to. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to parse this and sanitize, make sure the data is nice and clean. And then we're actually using scraping. There's a number of different enrichment providers, but we are going to enrich the LinkedIn profile of being able to understand the person. We got an URL, make sure it's real. We want to get the profile. I talk about this a lot in a lot of different platforms as well, called Clay. If you don't know about Clay, you should definitely consider it. But in this case, we are just simply gathering context around the LinkedIn profile from here, right? And then from here, we have another agent. So we're getting context around the company information specifically. And so we are going to understand more context around what the company does. You are a LinkedIn company analyst, and your job is to extract the company website. Your role is only to extract the company website from the LinkedIn URL and only output the URL. You have one tool in order to use that. And so we're simply going to search it and to see what that looks like. So based on the input below, here's the LinkedIn company URL that is listed on the employee's profile. Carefully analyze this URL and ensure that it is the company profile for LinkedIn. And this is going to be it right here. And so this one, in this example, we have UniFirst and who's looking for a sales rep. From here, we are going to kick off an enrichment process. This is actually what you call a waterfall process. And for most people, pretty much think of it like if one thing exists or does not exist, then move to the next step. And if that doesn't exist, move to the next step, right? Well, in n8n, they don't have, this logic could be complicated and a little bit cumbersome to build out, because you can have an enrichment tool and say, okay, if this does not exist, move on to the next one, right? So what I found to actually be really useful is to use an enrichment tool called Full Enrich. And Full Enrich does exactly that, all in one node. Well, really, to kick it off, we'll go into the details here in a second. But Full Enrich for us has been a powerhouse, especially for this workflow and having premium vendors, that we use every day on an individual basis. So, we use every single one of these individually. But in order to implement into a waterfall process to kick off one, it actually is a lot easier just to really make sure that we're getting one valid email and for good error handling to be able to have it be successful, right? So this goes for phone numbers as well, but basically they have a number of different providers and data sources all just looped into one. So it really makes it a lot easier, especially for n8n, to really just plug in and be able to say like, hey, I have this information, this LinkedIn URL, just give me all the information that we need in order to reach out to this person, right? So that's the key here. And then they also make sure it's validated. So you're never going to get 100% hit rate, but you're going to get a really high percentage of being able to find good, validated, enriched information on this as well. So definitely check out Full Enrich. It's one of those, like I said, those tools that really help out in terms of being able to simplify it from there. So what we're going to do actually, and by the way, they do have an n8n verified node. What I actually found though is in this use case, we want to keep it in the same workflow versus sending to a webhook to another, and I'll explain why here in a second. We're going to do the same method that we did with Applify, which is basically polling the API, right? So what we want to do is we're just going to kick this off. We're going to use I use their documents to basically kick it off in bulk, even though we're sending one. And then from here, you can see that, which is super interesting, by the way, because they actually require these inside their payload. Otherwise, it'll error. And it probably does send to this webhook. But the thing is we don't actually need the webhook at all because we're pulling it. And when we send the information, it's the same process where we're going to get back a enrichment ID, which you can see right here. And then we just keep checking the progress to see if it's still going or if it's finished. That's the name of the game right here, is you just kick this off and you keep pulling it. And I think we were pulling it every 5 seconds. So the waterfall is happening, right? It's flowing. You get with the flow. So we're sitting there, we're just going in loops and we're pulling it. And then from there, once it's finished, we're going to get the information back. And then from there, we are going to go into a copy agent. This is where the real magic happens, right? And the thing here is with the copy agent, you're going to want to really tailor this to your offer and your business. The more context you can give it very specifically, the better it's going to perform, right? So again, you can see right here it says you are an expert cold email copywriter. Your role is to take the information that you receive about a company and utilize the Firecrawl MCP to scrape their website in order to understand what they do, who they sell to, and gain additional context about who you're reaching out to. You are given the point of contact, a decision maker from the company based on the user message, and your sole objective is to generate copy around the fact that they posted a job and applied for a specific title, right? And then from here, your task. Again, I talk about RTO. Give it the role, give it the task, give it parameters around the task. And then with that, you see email anatomy requirements. So when it comes to cold email, I usually like to emphasize the frameworks versus the message itself, because if you get so wrapped up on canned messages or you're trying to come up with the magic copy that applies to everybody, that doesn't always work. In fact, it hardly works now unless your offer is just like, hey, do you want $1 million? I mean, how much more personalization do you need than that, right? But in most cases, you're trying to reach out to somebody, give it a little bit of research and context, right? So the biggest thing, if you think about it, now if you and I were having a conversation and we haven't met, or maybe we have, but let's just say that we're in an elevator together, right? Let's say we have 30 seconds. I mean, depending on how big the building is, but like, I march into the elevator and I press floor number, 13 or 12 or whatever. And then you come in and you're like, oh, floor number 17, right? So we go there, we're sitting there just chilling, right? Nobody says anything. But let's just say this. We don't know each other. Let's say you have like let's say you're getting ready for a speech. You just did your tie, it's after lunch, and you're like, oh man, that was a good burger, right? But then all of a sudden you have like this ketchup spot right here, right? Let's just say, for example, I come in with a stain remover pen, because everybody has one of those in their pocket, right? But let's just say, for instance, I had a stain remover pen in my pocket, and I don't know you, but I'm like, hey, I noticed that you have a ketchup stain or a ketchup spot on your white shirt there. Like, I have a stain remover pen. Would you like to try it? You're not going to be like, who's this creep, right? You're going to be like, oh, shoot. You're like, yeah, bro. Let me get that. Thank you, right? I just gave you a lead magnet. You just completely dismissed, or we both did, the fact that I was not some creep in your elevator. And so that we turned a cold situation into a relevant connection where human to human, it just made sense, right? It wasn't awkward. It wasn't like, hey, how's the weather? I hope you're doing well. I hope this message finds you well. You're not going to say any of that BS, right? So you're just going to get straight to the source of why you're reaching out to somebody. You get to the point of why you are leading into whatever you're going to say. And then what do you want me to do? Like, hey, I noticed the ketchup stain. I have a solution for you. Would you like to try it, right? This is no different. We're going to be something to the effect of, hey, I noticed you have a job posting. I actually have that specialty. I would like to apply for it. Or, hey, I noticed you're hiring for a sales team. It's awesome that you're growing. I actually build automation systems that help support the manual process in order to scale it. So really, do you really need to hire another salesperson because they're spending probably 80% of their time doing research and 20% of their time actually on calls, right? What if it was 100% on calls, and then we built the system to help relieve them of all the manual research and things like that. So that is the context around building a copy agent. So with that said, I have opening line. I realize this is a cold email, but I noticed you posted normalized job title and wanted to directly reach out to you. Now, you'll notice that I put normalized job title. That is in of itself something you probably want to analyze, because let's say you're hiring for a there's a lot of job titles out there. You never really want to put the normal job title. You want to be like, no one says like sales development representative level 3. You're just gonna be like, hey, I noticed you posted a sales development representative level 3 in Kansas. People put that in the job title sometimes, but you want to normalize that in such a way that you're going to just be like, hey, I noticed you're hiring an SDR or something like that, right? Like, try to be human in such a way that it just rolls off the tongue. Anyway, so that is the context around that, and it's straight up, here's the information, right? So this copy agent is going to generate some copy, and you can see right here, this is an example. And then from here, that's when we send it away, right? So we actually have, which I helped build both of these. I actually did build this one right here. We have instantly, which is actually a verified node, by the way. So if you are running a cloud instance of n8n, you now have access to this. And then same with HeyReach. So HeyReach built this n8n integration as well. It was a lot of fun, and reach out if you are a SaaS and you also want to get integrated. It's definitely a lot of fun there. But anyway, this is the key here of being able to simply add it to your outreach sequence and being able to send them a cold email and then even connect with them on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I know you posted this job. Just wanted to check in on that. So there you have it. I appreciate you watching to the point. Hopefully this serves you well in being able to get some additional business for systems that you can trust. I definitely also recommend once you build a system and it works all the time, you're going to want to set up proper error handling. That way when it goes down, because it's just a matter of when and not if, of being able to really monitor these systems and making sure, just like employees, that they're actually producing, right? So I would definitely monitor these and then go into your executions to really make sure that the data flows as appropriate. And then we'll go from there. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. It really means a lot to me. So we'll see you in the next video.